In this video, you will learn how to remove charge-offs and collections from your credit report. Okay, let's get started. Charge-offs in your credit report say a lot of negative things about your credibility. It simply means that you are unable to pay your debts and creditors are in danger when they lend money to you. Because of the consequences, borrowers avoid a situation where the level of debts reaches the charge-off stage. The situation arises if the borrower is unable to pay off the debts. Before the debt reaches the stage where the amount could be charged, then the loan will first be marked as a delinquent. On reaching that point, it becomes difficult for the creditors to recover their money. They classify it as a charge-off, and it will appear in your next credit report. The lender must have tried several times to collect the debt, but the debtor defaults in repayment. When lender thinks that the best thing to do after all other efforts have failed, they label the loan as delinquent and give up any hope of them collecting the money by themselves. The lending company classifies it as a failed loan, meaning that they cancel the loan and take it to the reporting bureaus as a charge-off. When it is uncollectable, it does not mean that the money cannot be collected in the future, it only means that the lending company is no longer in a position to collect such a loan and a third party will now be involved in the debt collection. Lenders do not rush to that stage immediately, it is only after several months of missed payments, and after their efforts to collect the loans have failed. It depends on the lenders. The number of days it takes for a debt to enter that damning stage varies. Normally, it ranges from 120 to 180 days. It is also necessary to state that this situation cut across different types of loans such as credit loans, personal loans, auto loans, cards loans as well as student loans, and several other kinds of loans. When the debt is charged off, it does not mean that you are free from the loan. You still have to pay for it. If it is there, it does more harm because it can damage your reputation. There are lots of consequences associated with it when you are unable to pay the loan. As said before, it negatively affects your reputation and credit report. The consequences are severe and you may even deny help the time you need it most. Consequences of charge-offs. Charge-offs come with their own consequences, and that is why most borrowers avoid falling into the trap. Everybody needs money, and the money might not be available when you need it most. In such a situation, you have to look for help elsewhere, which includes borrowing to solve life-threatening problems. If you find yourself in a despicable financial situation of that negative on your details, it will make it difficult to borrow money in the future to solve your problems. Where such help comes, it has to be at a huge financial loss in form of high interest rates. When you are confronted with that situation, it goes to your credit details. It will make it difficult for you to borrow because it sends negative signals to future lenders that you are not a trusted or reliable borrower. This further means that you have a history of default when it comes to loan repayment. It is a difficult situation and it will continue to be there until the loan is paid off or the negative reporting is done away with from your credit information. When you have it and you fail to remove that negative report, it can be there for 7 years. It negatively affects many years for years to come. The bad thing about having a charge-off, it can lower your score by several points. The next stage is that the loan gets to a third hand, which is the collection agency. When it gets to the collection agency, your reputation is further soiled, and the collection has to take appropriate legal means to collect the money on behalf of the lenders. Charge-offs and collection agency. When the lending company hands off the loan, they take it to the collection agency. The collection agency has a way of collecting loans from defaulters. When it gets to the collection agency, your image and reputation go down further. The collectors adopt different methods, including subtle means, to recover the debt. The collection agency will first contact you and you can reach a deal with them on how the money will be paid. The agency will also try to contact you through various social media platforms such as Twitter and Facebook. If it gets to a point where the collection agency is finding it difficult to collect the money from you, they would be left with no option other than to file a lawsuit in a court of law. When they initiate the suit against you, they try all possible legal means to get an adverse judgment against you. The best thing to do in a situation like this is to honor the court invitation and try to settle. If you ignore the court summons, adverse judgment would likely be entered against you. The court could order the debt collector to garnish your wages. Instead of allowing the debts to drag to that point, it is better to settle on time and remove all the consequences that follow. When it gets to the debt collectors, the negatives continue to mount against you, and here are some of the consequences. Your reputation will suffer a setback. When it gets to this stage, the credit score point will continue to go down, which is not good for your reputation. Even in a situation where a payment plan is worked out, the delinquent reporting against you can linger for a long time. The amount continues to increase. You may not realize that the situation will continue to worsen because the amount of money you owe continues to increase. The principal amount you owed initially will continue to be there, interest would continue to accrue, just as the penalties and late fees will add up. Some collection agencies can even add up all the expenses they have made trying to collect the debts. Family members and friends could be contacted. It could come to a stage where the collectors will have to contact your friends and family members. Some aggressive debtors do that to ensure that they get the money back. Contacting other people depends on laws operating in states. Some states do allow them to contact third parties. When that is done, it is further damage to your reputation. Paid and unpaid charge-offs. Once a charge-off is there, it can continue to show on your report. If it is paid, it will appear as a paid debt, and where it is not paid, it will be there as an unpaid charge-off. If the debt is completely paid, it would be marked as paid in your report. The mark will always be there because paying these charges does not remove it from your credit report. It means that before future lenders will still go through the reports, and some of them that do not want to take any risk may ignore your request for money. Steps to remove charge-offs. If you want your credibility and solvency rating to be intact, you must strive to remove the negative standings in the reports. When observed these are still there, you will remove them from the report. Unless you remove it, you will have it hanging on it for the next 7 years. To remove it, there are different options available for you that you can try today to enhance your solvency reputation. Make an offer to pay your creditors for the charge-off to be deleted. Once you are in debt, the best thing to do to remove the burden off your neck is to pay your debts. Try to pay the debts in exchange for the removal of the charge-off on your credit report. When you do that, you can easily convince the debt collectors to lift or remove them from your credit report. This method is effective if you have a case of unpaid charges and debts. If, on the other hand, that you have already paid the debts and the charges on the accounts are still there, then there is no leverage for you to negotiate for its removal. You can try another method. Adopt an advanced method to dispute the charge-off. If you are finding it hard to pay the balance you are owing completely, you can negotiate with the original lender to remove it from your report. Before you can do that, you must get an accurate credit report. Study the details to ensure that everything is accurate. Try to observe any inconsistencies or anything inaccurate. To ensure that you get the accurate details, cross-check the following areas such as the account numbers, your name, the open date, the date for that charges, available payment history, name of the borrower, balance. You must scrutinize the information here to ensure that everything is correct. If you discover any incorrect information, then prepare your own details and make them available to the 3 bureaus. Ensure that you provide the necessary information containing the inaccuracies. Convince them that the information available is incorrect, and because of that, the information in your credit reporting should be corrected and the charge-offs removed from the report. It is now the duty of the reporting agencies to check the information provided, and where they are convinced that details of information given about you are incorrect, they have to correct it and then remove them completely. This complies with an existing law, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Disputing can only help when the information is not accurate, but if on the other hand that after investigations and it is discovered that information provided is accurate, disputing is not going to help remove the charge-offs. Engage a professional to remove the charge-off. The third option available for you is to engage the services of professionals to help remove the charge-offs from your credit report. Some companies specialize in providing such services, and you can investigate to find out the best company suitable for this service. Ensure that you get a company with the right experience. Professionals can have the burden removed with ease and repair your rating in the process. Try as many companies as possible and know their charges and their level of experience. Most of them do offer free online consultation services. After interacting with them, you can determine which provider to choose and so on. Hiring a professional can take you some money, but there is nothing that compares to the reputable and good reports you get after that. It can save you from the embarrassment that follows the damaging information and associated negative reports. You should know that writing off the debt does not mean that the money is gone forever. It has only saved you the consequences associated with negative and bad reports in that report. As said before, when the creditor finds it hard to recover the debts, they may hire a third-party company or debt collectors to do the rest for them. The collectors do this kind of business. Collectors can decide to buy the debt from the original creditor. It is either they want to collect the debts for themselves after they have bought off the debt, or they are hired by the creditors to collect the money for them. Negotiating for pay for delete. Before you negotiate for the deletion of charges, find out whether the debt has been passed on to a collection agency. If that is the situation, it means that you can no longer negotiate with your original creditor. In such a case, negotiate with the collector agency. Usually, the debt is purchased at a fraction of the original debt and the collectors are willing to make a deal with you. It means that they may not demand the complete debts you were originally owed. When you are negotiating, you bargain pleading to pay the debt or some amount in exchange for the removal of them from your credit report. When the debt changes hand, everything can work to your advantage. The first thing the collecting company does is to pull your details to find out if there are possible ways of paying the debts. When there is an available balance on the card or a credit line to pay the debts, it can motivate the debt owner to work out things with you to correct the money or whatever you negotiated and do away with those charges and penalties on your accounts. Since the collector bought off the debts at a fraction of what you were originally owed, they can settle for anything less to recover money from you in exchange for the charge-off's removal. If you have good bargaining skills, you can start the negotiation by offering some percentage of what you are owing. You can start by offering 25%, but it all depends on the total sum you are owing. When the bargaining process begins, you will notice that the collection agency will be willing to accept a reduced amount and they will be pushing back and forcing you to push up until a certain amount is agreed upon. Based on what you have on your credit line, the collection agency can willingly accept your offer and do away with it. You can have relief when it is done and there is no financial burden hanging on your neck again. You will be free of all troubles. Writing consent or agreement is important. This arrangement, which is paid for delete, is legal and is allowed under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It is a bargaining process. The lender may not accept that arrangement. To ensure that everything works in your favor, you must insist you document any agreement you reached in writing. The details have to be written on the company's letterhead and it must contain all the necessary information such as the amount you agree to pay. It must also include the consent or the agreement that the lender agrees to remove the financial burden after you pay the agreed amount. Things to know before you pay for deletion. There are certain things you can try and see if they can work for your advantage before you pay the charge off. First, if that charge comes only from an old debt, do not offer to pay the complete amount. Instead, you should try to negotiate for something less. Some experts have advised that you can start from 25% and move up from there. It is not likely the creditors will agree to that. To save time, it might be better to start from 50% off. It is common for creditors to say that they will find it legally difficult to remove the bill off. Do not agree to that. It is possible to remove it from their end and you must push on with the negotiation process. Do not rest until you can reach a deal. While negotiating, you must not allow the debt collector to have access to your bank account. The negotiation can be done through the phone. You can pay through any of the workable online payment systems, but do not allow them access to your bank account details. How long will it stay? You have seen that it is possible to remove the charges from your credit report. Sometimes, you may try all you can, but the creditors or collection company may refuse to remove the charge off. The maximum amount of time it can stay in that you're rating for 7 years. Depending on the deal you have reached, it can remain in your credit report as settled or paid. The best option, as said earlier, is to negotiate with the parties concerned to ensure that you remove it before the 7 years' time. When you are making any deletion request, you must make a formal approach, and that means that you must do it yourself and it has to be in writing. Safeguard the copies of your correspondence. Rebuilding your credit rating. If you tried all you can and the bill remained in your report, it is not the end of the road for you. The impact will continue to lessen as years roll by. Its effect can only be there for a maximum of 7 years. You can still improve your solvency rating by keeping your credit utilization ratio low, and by paying your bills on time. It can also help you to limit how often you ask for credit. The overall score will improve with time if you do other things right. Payment history accounts for 35% of the FICO score. If you do other things well, you can stay above the average. However, if you are about to remove the collection account, your credit rating will increase. It is interesting to note that it is not just the payment history that is listed on your credit report. There could be other things. Assuming that the only negative report on your score is the charge-offs, if it is removed, your loan eligibility rate will improve drastically. Conclusion: if you are faced with charge-offs or collection account listed on your credit report, you can still remove them from the report. The strategies discussed above can help you to remove them from the report. If it is not removed, it has to remain there for the next 7 years, damaging your reputation and affecting your ability to get credits in the future. You can ask for a goodwill deletion, or you contact professionals and pay them and have the charge collections removed from the report. Click the link in the description to improve your credit fast.